Shalom Nitzavim Vayelech Tavshin Pei Gimel. Baruch Hashem, once again tonight, due to a simcha, also another grand Bikur Cholim parlor meeting, fundraiser, and Somerset Walk tonight. Encourage everybody to understand what these tzaddikim and Bali Chesed of Bikur Cholim actually do every week, and we Baruch Hashem get to see it on a weekly basis. Quite astounding. But once again tonight we're doing the Shir off premises, and we hope next week to be back in Bikur Cholim headquarters for our Rosh Hashanah Shir. And this week's Parsha, among the many lessons that we learn from the Parsha, we have two extremely fundamental, important lessons, and those are Ahavas Hashem and Dveikus Hashem. And the pasuk says in our parsha, Li'ahava es Hashem Elekecha, to love Hashem, Lishmoya b'koiloi, to listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's voice, listen to what He tells you, U'ledav kaboy, and to cleave to Hashem, to be close to Hashem. And actually, if you look in the parsha, the inyan of loving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the inyan of Avas Hashem, is actually mentioned 3 different times in our parsha. First of all, very appropriately this week in our parsha, we have Parshas HaTshuva that tells us about doing tshuva and repenting for things that we've done, and how much Hashem wants us back, and how much Hashem never ever wants any of us to be distant or to be away from Hashem, to be alienated from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem always wants us back. And in that parsha, it says, Umal Hashem Alekecha Savavcha, and then that pasuk ends, Li'avo es Hashem Alekecha, to love Hashem. So in the parsha of Tshuva, that's one time that we speak about Avas Hashem. After that, the Torah tells us, Re'ei nosati lefanecha, and we say, Asher anechi mitzavacha hayoim, see with that which Hashem is commanding you today, Li'ahava es Hashem Alekecha. Once again, the Torah mentions the love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then finally, at the end of the parsha, we have, the Torah tells us once again, Li'ahava es Hashem Alekecha u'ledav kaboy. Once again about loving Hashem and coming close to Hashem, cleaving to Hashem. So let's we'll do a little explanation on this, but let's preface it with a Rambam. The Rambam writes in Perek Zayin, Hilchas Tshuva, the Rambam writes that what makes Tshuva so amazing and so special is that not only does a person get forgiveness, but tshuva brings one closer to the Shekhinah. The Rambam says unbelievable words, and it's kedai for everyone to hear this before Rosh Hashanah. The Rambam says that while one day a person goes through a whole year and does aveiros and does things keneged the Ratzon Hashem, so a whole year aveiros separate a person from Hashem. It makes us separate and distant from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zok the Rambam, yesterday you were that. But if you do tshuva, today, after doing tshuva, you could be not just closer to Hashem, you're loved by Hashem. You're connected, mamish connected to the Shekhinah. Unbelievable that tshuva brings you from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other. And the Rambam is telling us and is teaching us a tremendous chiddush, that tshuva means more than accepting. We know one of the darkei tshuva, one of the ways of tshuva is to accept that you're not going to do the aveira, you're not going to do it over again. So the Rambam is telling us that tshuva means a lot more than that, not just accepting not to sin again, because if you just accept that, then you're accomplishing just that. You're accomplishing that you're not going to sin again. But we want more from tshuva. Tshuva is really much more than that. The pasuk tells us in Shabbos Shuvah, when we learn the Haftarah, Shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Alekecha. In other words, when you do tshuva, and you come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you show Hashem that you want to be close. So Shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Alekecha. You could come right away, all the way back to be totally ad Hashem Alekecha, absolutely connected to the Shechina. It actually brings you to the tachlis of the world, the tachlis of the whole Torah, the tachlis of all the mitzvahs, which is Avas Hashem and Dveikus Hashem, just by doing tshuva. And tshuva, says the Rambam, actually does that. It brings you all the way back, that now you are a person who is loved by Hashem and is connected totally to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the amazing, one of the amazing things about tshuva. But now, getting back to what we began this year with, and we said that in our parasha alone, it talks about Avas Hashem 3 different occasions. I have an amazing question for you. We just reiterated and we spoke about just how important and what a fundamental Avas Hashem and Dveikus Hashem are in the life of every Yid. So the question is, why do we wait until Mishnah Torah? Why do we wait until Seder Devarim, wait till all the way to the end of the Torah to talk about it? We do not speak about Avas Hashem or Dveikus Hashem throughout Bereshis, Shemois, Vayikra, Bamidbar, nothing. We don't see anything about Avas Hashem and Dveikus Hashem. So until Mishnah Torah, it's so important, but then until Mishnah Torah, we do not mention it. And then once we get to Mishnah Torah, we keep mentioning it over and over again. Like we said 3 times in our parsha, plus another parashas too we're very familiar with in Kriya Shema, right? V'ahavta es Hashem Alekecha. And in the second parsha of Kriya Shema, Li'ahava es Hashem Alekechem. So we don't mention it the entire Torah, and now all of a sudden we're mentioning it over and over again. So if it's the tachlis of the entire Torah and all the mitzvahs, why do we not discuss it for the whole Torah until Seder Devarim? So Nesivos Shalom explains in his beautiful way, and let's explain this inyan of why Avas Hashem is left for Mishnah Torah. The Rishonim ask, in general, how do you command? We have a mitzvah, let's say, now we know we have a mitzvah of Avas Hashem. How do we command somebody to love something? If you don't like something, you don't love something or someone, nobody can walk over to you and say, love this thing, love this person, right? Love is something, Ava is something that, it's a feeling. It comes from your heart. Nobody could instruct you or tell you to love something. So what is the whole thing of Avas Hashem? I mean, we would hope that a person appreciates and understands what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for him every minute, and it'll bring you to love Hashem. But what if a person is not so connected to that? What if a person is not so connected to the Hashem in that regard? So we command them to love Hashem. How does that work? How do you change the nature of a person? The answer, explains in Nesivos Shalom, is that we have to understand how we get to Avas Hashem. And he says like this, that really Hashem did us a tremendous favor. The Taryag mitzvahs, the 613 mitzvahs that we have, every one of them is a way and a path to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem wants us to love Him. Hashem wants us to be close. So He gave us 613 pathways, 613 different ways to get closer to Hashem. And the sun is shining into this window. We're going to just... okay, that's a little bit better, right? Okay. We have 613 different ways to come close to Hashem. So by the nature of this world, understand the nature of this world is a world that is full of Gashmias. And we should really, by the nature of the world, not be able to reach levels of connection to Hashem through all the taivas and all the Gashmias. How would one connect to Hashem in this Olam Hazeh, in this world? So Hashem told us, you know what? I'm going to give you 613 ways. You do those, that is going to bring you closer to Hashem. That's going to help you accomplish this task of loving Hashem. And when you do mitzvahs, that is the medium to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to love Hashem. And that is why, says the Nesivos Shalom, we're not commanded to love Hashem throughout the Bereshis and Shemois and Vayikra Bamidbar. We're not commanded to love Hashem. You know why? Because first the entire Torah and all the mitzvahs have to be told to us. Hashem gives us the entire Torah and all the mitzvahs, and Hashem tells us this is the path to get close to me. These are the ways. These are the 613 ways. So we can't talk about Ahavas Hashem and Veikus Hashem until Hashem tells us about all the ways, and He gives us all the mitzvahs. He tells us the way that we can get there. And the 3 times, and then we get to Mishnah Torah, and the 3 times in our parsha take us, says in the Nesivos Shalom, there's different levels of love that a person should have, and the Torah is telling you, you have to go up all 3 of those levels, and it's possible for a person to become that connected to Hashem. And I'll mention to you what the 3 levels are. One level is where we love, imagine we love a person who does things for us. Someone does something for you, and they're very kind to you, so you love that person. That is step number 1. The next love is a love of a parent to a child. Or even if you're not necessarily doing anything, there's a natural, stronger love to family, a parent and a child. And then there is the love, the 3rd level, which is a chayli ahava, the love that Shlomo HaMelech talks about, the love between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is the 3rd level, the highest level of love, where, quote, you're, so to speak, sick with love that you can never ever get enough. So in our parsha, when we already talked about all the mitzvahs, and we know the different ways to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Torah tells us about Ahavas Hashem 3 times, saying one level, and the next level, and then the highest level. Now that you're so connected through the mitzvahs, ki ha-mitzvah hazais, you're so connected to the mitzvahs, now we have this mitzvah, now we come to the ultimate of loving HaKadosh Baruch Hu and coming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we need to understand, and we need to especially learn the lesson at this time of the year, that you know how we get to that level of love? When we do tshuva, as it also mentioned in the first of this week's parshiyos, when we do tshuva, then we believe that we're coming all the way back to Hashem. We believe that we can come close to Hashem. And remember what the Rambam says. The Rambam says, yesterday you were distant, you were apart, you were separate from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then you understood that you should do tshuva. The Rambam is telling you, today you're close. Today you are attached to. Today you cleave to. Today you love Hashem, and most of all, Hashem loves you. And that's the lesson that we really need to remember going toward Rosh Hashanah. And when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, that Hashem wants to be close to every one of us. And all Hashem wants us to do is say, Hashem, I acknowledge you. Kaviyachal, I acknowledge you. I understand that I want to be better, and I want to be closer, and I want to have that 3rd level of Ava with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want to be at that level. And then overnight, the next day, the Rambam says, the next day, yesterday you were this, and today you're that. Today you are that close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let's internalize this lesson. The last Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, this Shabbos could be, we can make amends for all the other Shabbosos of this year. Use our Shabbos right, the Sudas right, the Tefillos, learning, respecting other people, Kedusha Shabbos, Shmira Shabbos, Zechira Shabbos, and Emir Hashem will all be Zoicha through this to a wonderful and beautiful Shabbos and a Kesiva V'Chasima Tova.